unusual bleeding, unusual vaginal bleeding, or pelvic pain. Many cancers are not painful, so you don't even know anything is going on. And for some women, they just think it's the period or they just think it's, normal. And so they don't often know that this is a sign of cancer. But especially for older persons, if you're having postmenopausal bleeding or post intercourse bleeding that is unusual, that is a sign that you should have that checked out. So, screening does not have to depend on symptoms. Screening is way before symptoms happen. So, in cancer, we often talk about screening just every 3 years. If you are 35 years and older, get your pap smear done. And if you see any unusual bleeding, vaginal bleeding, please have that checked out sooner rather than later. Early screening is important because it prevents cancer before it spreads, before it starts. It helps to catch problems early when they're easier to treat. Again, remember that cancer is about invasive cells. They grow and they spread. So if you can catch it and eliminate it before it starts to spread, then that is the better chance of survival. And routine checkups, always important. They check your blood pressure, they check your blood sugar, you know your numbers, they screen you for cancer. Then you know that you're okay and you can go about your life. Don't wait until you're sick and don't wait until you have symptoms before you get an appointment with your medical provider. Routine medical checkups are very important, and that also includes getting vaccination for those who are eligible.
Dr. Ige, when they are doing this early screening for cervical cancer, because it shows up without symptoms necessarily, what is it that they're looking for in the cervical cells when they're doing these early screening tests?
Yes. So there, I saw something on Instagram that was very funny. Somebody put an array of all kinds of instruments on the table and asked if people could identify what it is. Those are all the instruments used during, pap smear. So women have a lot of invasive procedures. So pap smear is a process where a provider will take a swab. No, it looks like a long Q-tip, and they roll it around in the cervix to get some samples of the cells, and then they go examine that cell under the microscope to see if the cells are normal or if the cells have started to show signs that they are mutating or they're changing, and that helps them to know that.
The talk of Chicago is 1690 WVON, Sherwin, Chicago.
Tuned in to your favorite WVON personalities on Facebook Live? Don't just watch, like it, love it, share it. Every click helps us grow the conversation and keep the community strong. So remember, like it, love it, share it, Chicago.
I know you're going to dig this.
As reported earlier, Christy Nome is gone.
See, it
you should never trust a
a
gnome, though. Only reason you trust a gnome is around Christmas. That's it.
Or in the garden. In the garden.
I told you, her and Pam Bondi and Chrissy Nome and Donald Trump wear so much makeup, they hug each other. They'll make a creamsicle. Donald Trump look like his makeup is Dorito dust, doesn't it?
It's the DL Hughley Show.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
It's tax season, and by now, I know you're a bit tired of the numbers, but here's an important one you need to hear. $16 billion. That's how much money in refunds the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud. Not all grim news. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second for your personal information and alerts you to threats that you could easily miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist is going to fix it. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK, 1-800-LifeLock or LifeLock.com. Terms to apply.
This is your host and life coach, Linnell Harris, and I want you to join me every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for Inspirational Perspective. On Inspirational Perspective, we talk life vision, life purpose, and the show is all about helping you live the best life possible. So join me as we look at supporting you in living the life you intend to live and making your life's vision a reality. Every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 a.m. WVON.
Happy Women's History Month from the station that celebrates Black Girl Magic, WVON.
It's Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman on Chicago's essential storyteller, WVON.
They call him Mr. Ceasefire. They call him Mr. Ceasefire. Stopping shootings and killings almost every day. Trying to make a better way. They call him Mr. Ceasefire.
Okay. We're going to get started. Okay, good morning, everybody here in Chicagoland. Your main man, Tio Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman here live in WVON, 1690 AM. I want to thank God for allowing me to host this show every Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. I want to thank my sponsors and most important, Violence Interrupters. That's my organization, Violence Interrupters NFP. You can visit my website at violenceinterrupters.org. And I want you to check out my book here. I got Death of an Addict. My book is on Amazon right now. I have my other book, Interrupting Gun Violence, the Public Health Approach. Both of these books are on Amazon. Death of an Addict, Resurrection of a Man, and Interrupting Gun Violence. I want you to check that out. Go to Amazon and support your brother here, right? So we got a lot of good things going on in the universe, but I want to send a shout out to my man, Edwards Fashions on 114th in Michigan, African-American owned clothing store for men. They have a lot of good clothing out there. And then I'm sporting my new Bounce Interrupter, outfit today. And then we got also, if you need some work done on your car, Midas Mufflers on 74th and Stony Island. I support them and they support me. And then my main man, Warren Pitts with Everson Quick Signs. He makes all my clothes, actually, and all my public education information. So today we got a real power-packed show, in my opinion, because we plan to take on the subject matter of foundational Black Americans, right? And I have with me today one of my guests. I'll allow you to introduce yourself first, Brother Brian Mullins. Let's welcome Brian Mullins and just say hello or something here.
Hello, everyone.
And then I got one of my returning guests all the time, the one and only Alderman Raymond Lopez. Give it to him.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Right. Okay. And before I get started, I always try to wake people up. I'll try to do something. But since the show is about reparation, I have to go with something like a theme, like Wake Up Everybody type of theme, Wake up everybody, no more sleeping in bed, no more time for wasting, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so many ways from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war, and poverty. That's what I got there, right? And then we're going to get to the OJ, Ship Ahoy, which I sing at every blue moon. And the reason I'm going with Ship Ahoy is because we're talking about reparations. It's a song by the OJs. They talked about how our people were brought over here on that ship Ahoy. As far as say, I'm your master, you're my slave. Can't you feel the motion in the ocean? Can't you feel the cold winds coming down? They're just waiting to be saved. That's the OJs, all right? Get my voice strong on that. We'll come back later and do some other stuff.
That's how you got to show up to City
Ship
Council.
Ahoy. That's right, Ship Ahoy. Now we got to do the Ship Ahoy, man, because they were saying, as far as eyes can see, men, women, children coming to the land of liberty. But it wasn't a land of liberty back then. It was a land of slavery, okay? Subjected to the kind of cruel conditions, atrocities that were committed against my people, right? So I get real caught up in this discussion because as serious as a discussion could be, looking at what happened, right? And I get tired of people comparing what happened to our forefathers to all kinds of other old stuff, right? But, everybody went through something in history. Don't get me wrong, but I'm African-American. So we want to talk about the foundational African-American people here this morning. I want y'all to call in at 591-1690, 773-591-1690. Let's have a real serious discussion this morning about reparations and what it means to be foundational Black Americans. So we're going to start out with Brother Brian Mullins. You want to define foundational Black Americans, see if we can kind of reach a consensus here. Then we'll get right to the alderman.
Yep. So to make it as simple as possible, foundational Black Americans. So the legal terms that was used in the federal government are Black American freedmen, right?
Okay.
So you have policy word names and you have social names. So the Negro came out through the census. So we became Negro through the U.S. Census, right? So it was freedmen, then Negro. We've evolved from color to Black American, African American. So they keep changing our names, but it's a group of people who came through chattel slavery or Jim Crow or any of the effects of after. It's a specific group of people, right? It's not everybody that has black skin. It's just that simple. Everybody's heritage is not the same. So we're making, so up until 1966, the majority of people by far were foundational Black Americans, had no ties to no other nation. When I say that, we're talking about that 500-600 or more year gap from when we were taken from Africa.
So you're saying from 1966, break that down one more time.
So in 1966, you had the Immigration and Naturalization Act.
Okay, yeah.
Prior to that, 98% of the people in America were foundational Black Americans. Everybody Black here had some tie to the U.S. soil.
Got it.
Right? Then after 1966, African and Caribbean immigrants came into America at different rates. Now, right now, nobody knows the numbers for a fact, but I'm going to throw the percentages out there.
Yes.
We are 44 million strong called Black.
Okay.
Right? Out of that, we're estimating probably up to 10% now. 10% of that 44 million are not foundational Black Americans.
Okay, right? 10%.
10% of that.
Gotcha.
But everything we see in government in the world is moving towards immigrant and the world and blending us together. And we're losing the sight of foundational Black American culture and history. And that's the core of what we come into play, saying, hey, we have different experiences. So when we talk about reparations and equity, everybody was not harmed by the same atrocities of chattel slavery, Jim Crow, Red Line, and all that. It was a specific group of people.
But let me play the devil's advocate with you for a minute.
Sure.
So because some people might say, well, you kind of old school. There's always going to be a changing of the guard. So how do you respond to that? Because in reality, I'm with you. I'm with the foundational Black Americans, but you're going to get some critics that say, well, why you steady speak? I mean, everybody that's colored is Black.
Right.
You're going to get that type of argument before we bring the alderman in the discussion. Well, how do you respond to that?
I mean, we're not against or saying we hate anyone. We're trying to delineate and say everybody's cousin. So if that's the case, so give you an example. In Chicago, it's all over the world, but in Chicago, you have Jamaican Heritage Association, Haitian Association.
That's correct.
Right. A Haitian child can get a scholarship from the NAACP and the Haitian American Association, but a foundational Black American child cannot get a scholarship from the Haitian American Association because she's not Haitian.
That's a good way to break it down.
So what we got to do is educate our people to understand it's not against anybody in theory, but we are our own group of people, and we're the only ones that allow this crossover.
All right, cool.
But we're also 40 million strong. When you look at the census numbers, if you break down ethnicities, we are the second largest ethnicity. German is first, Black American would be second. So to your point of changing the guard ain't changing. So you keep adding people into America, then now, so the numbers do start to change. Over time, they will. And that's where we come in, trying to preserve our culture and our heritage.
Yeah, I see these phone lines are really lighting up. So look here, we got
Brian woke him up.
That's right. That's right. So we have Alderman Raymond Lopez in the house this morning. So the first question I'll go with you is people going to say, well, what do you have to do with this? Let's break it down, Alderman Raymond Lopez.
I'll make it easy. I represent foundational Black Americans.
Right.
I understand. And you know what? I'm not trying as an elected official to try to impart my will, which is what we've seen under Lori and under Brendan Johnson, trying to mesh everyone together and dilute the powers of equity, which is the ultimate goal. Because what we see is when you throw everyone together, foundational Black Americans along with African migrants and immigrants, then you put them in the WMBE program, and then you start diluting and taking away from those individuals whom these programs were originally intended for. And Brian and I have been working for 2 administrations now to try to get parity and equity when it comes to our hiring, our contracting and recognizing the fact that 26 and 6 does not work. That's 26% for minority, 6% for women. That does not work in terms of hiring, contracting when you have foundational Black residents in Chicago who are a third of this city. You know, our workforce should be a third, and a third. Our contracting dollars should go a third, and a third. And we need to not only set those goals, but also build capacity. Because as we were talking before the show, even if we were to go that route now overnight, we still don't have the institutional capabilities to access all those dollars. But we have to aspire to that point. And you need people who understand that, but also understand the difference that not all skin folk are the same. And we have to be able to say that we can support immigrants, great, but we also need to support those that were harmed by
transatlantic
years of slavery, centuries of slavery, Jim Crow, on this side of
civil
the
rights
side
movement,
of the pond.
you name it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this we're gonna do now. I'll take a couple of callers here in a second. Here, 1 second. Because now, before I take the first call, I want to say this because this conversation brings, to my mind anyway. So now you're trying to blend all the people of color together, and there's a need to keep foundational Black Americans in the pipeline for the reparations because everybody's not deserving of reparations, in other words.
Correct.
And I don't truly believe we're going to get reparations. I'm not saying this to be pessimistic. I'm saying because we've been trying for 100 years.
Well, you're not going to get it if you start mixing issues.
That's why I'm bringing it up. Right.
And this really came to a head last week during budget when the mayor's team said that they were going to accept a grant to show the similarities between Black freedmen and the descendants of slaves experience and those of Black migrants. You're mixing apples and oranges.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you can't do that. If you truly want to help people. Now, if you want to keep deflecting and never get to that point of reparations and equity, then that absolutely you start meshing people together. Because then it only looks like you're doing something.
See this? Yeah, go ahead, Brother Brian.
Okay, let me just jump in on that. I don't believe that the reparations, like people have it in their brain, that you're going to get a check for $1 million from the federal government, wherever it happened. Okay, because the country and the world is set up, and politics is set up differently. It's not that we don't deserve it or whatever, but the harms that we talking about in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago, those are we call equity. Meaning, again, like we talked about before the show started, about equity. So when we talk about monies coming out of stuff, well, like Alderman Lopez says, 30% of the contracts. I mean, we have MBE programs where the majority of Chicago is minority, Black and Hispanic. Over 60%.
No doubt.
So I asked Jamie Reed before the procurement chief. I said, Jamie, when are we going to talk about why do white men get 72% of the contracts out of the box and they don't have to certify? There's no white male certification. They just get contracts, right? And so we got to start discussing these things, especially when we got this Black administrations. You would think this would be in the forefront of the conversations, but unfortunately, our current mayor and the other one was not too far away. Their view of Black is not necessarily foundational Black Americans. So you have people all in their administration that do not represent foundational Black Americans.
I hear where you're coming from because, like I say, right before I take the callers, I understand clearly what you're talking about because from my historical studies or whatever the case may be, we need to make sure we look out for the people who's like my ancestors. I'm 62% Nigerian. And I'm 7% Kenyan, then I got some European in me. I'm just being straight up. My forefathers were tampered with, let's just be honest with that. But the reality of it is that I feel the spirit of my African ancestors all the time in me, but I'm foundational Black. Because once you start mixing it up, because you got some people that their people never experienced the transatlantic slave trade.
Right.
So let me bring my first call on.
One quick thing for you, scholar call in.
Yeah.
I just want the center. We talk about the slave trade in history, and I love it, and I'm very versed in it.
Right.
But the harms that most of us listening on this, it's come from CHA, Chicago Police Department, Chicago Public Schools. You know, I'm trying to say.
But I'm looking at the psychological chains of slavery. And Brother Naeem Akbar wrote a book titled "The Psychological Chains of Slavery" because it's passed down from. I don't have time to get all the way into it because I've studied all of that. So we'll get to that. Yeah. So, Cat Daddy, good morning to you.
Good morning. So today's show is more about delineation.
Yeah, I didn't want to mess that word up, Cat Daddy, so I'll let you say
it. I'm going to break it down for you.
Break it down.
To understand reparations, you first have to understand delineation. And like the Alderman said, and Brian said, said reparations is in these United States is not for everybody who happens to be black. I define the descendants of chattel. I define foundational black or legacy black Americans as those descended from chattel slaves that were based in Middle North America, being what's now the United States, between 1619 Jamestown, Virginia, and the 1868 ratification of the 14th Amendment. But if Brian wants to extend it to the to further legislation into the 60s, all well and good. What inspired this show was Alderman Lopez raising, I won't say objections, but raising issues, he and Pat Dow along the way with that Walter grant, I believe, is Walter
Cat Day,
Foundation
do you
grant.
agree with Brother Brian and the Alderman? We talk about foundational Black Americans opposed to mixing us all in a pot of all the people from the diaspora and all that stuff, the people in the Caribbean and all the people that's coming from Africa over here in today's world. Do you agree that we need to make sure that foundational Black Americans are like put first, like place like a priority?
Yeah, it should be a priority. And that's the other thing that affected this show. Pat Dow and Alderwoman Dow and Alderman Lopez for that Walter grant, which is supposed to study or have a policy fellow to study closing the gap between Black immigrants and foundational Black Americans. They both said it was mixing apples and oranges. And I think Alderman Lopez went further with it, saying that, you know, how are we going to be doing this when we're supposed to be studying reparations at the time?
Okay.
And then how would that happen with other interest groups, lumping it in with other interest groups? For example, his fellow Mexican Americans and so on and so forth. We have by writing the mayor about this reparations task force, which
let me be straight, Cat Daddy, because I'm trying. I got a lot of calls this morning here. What's the progress? Is any progress being made with that reparations task force? What's the state of reparations in Chicago right now? Right.
Well,
what's the state of it?
Reparations task force, we're still dealing with them as far as transparency is concerned, and we'll be talking.
And good
about
job
that.
getting the Attorney General on board to say. No hiding in the closet when you're talking about reparations.
Okay, then now the Attorney General's from
had an open meeting,
right?
Open meeting for the task force.
So no, you say no meetings for the task force thus far?
I don't know if they have or haven't because they won't have open meetings.
Okay.
They don't have any minutes or
so the meetings are
or
closed.
agendas posted.
Yeah.
And the letter from the Attorney General's office, from the Public Access counselor for the Attorney General's office said, you know what? Y'all need to show us why you don't need to abide by the Open Meetings Act.
Yep.
And you need to show us why you aren't a public body. And to prove that, you need to send minutes, you need to send agendas and all other stuff. And they've got 7 days to do it, no dragging it out, because the problem with this task force is they've been dragging out transparency.
And the only way, Mark, that they can get themselves out of this is if they admit publicly that they've had zero policy discussions on this.
Well,
that is their only exit.
Well, that makes me think it was just something to pacify people,
100%,
to make it look like putting a Band-Aid on a real serious wound.
It was.
Yeah.
And that's what but Alderman Lopez said. It's either one or the other.
Yeah.
Either you lied about having a reparation commission, talking about policy, or you're not being transparent. It's one of the two.
All right. But Cat Dad, I want to thank you for your call. I really appreciate you. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, we got about 10 more calls lined up for us. Okay. And I appreciate it. So this is where I want to go before I take the next caller in. So Brian, I want you to just add a little bit more information to the overall. So the state of reparations, I'm just talking about Chicago now.
Yeah.
And you're saying we haven't made no progress? None. Break that down. Why you say that?
Well, I know you say Chicago because you have first of all, if I can tell people, there are two reparation commissions currently engaging.
In
one
Chicago?
is the state of Illinois.
Okay.
One is the city of Chicago.
Got
two separate bodies, one by the mayor, one by the governor. but it's the same foundational Black Americans that live in the same blocks in the same hood that we're talking about. So there wasn't really a need, in my opinion, for a second one, a city one anyway. But I believe the mayor used it to on Juneteenth. He announced it one time. And Alderman, what's the name? They have a lady who's from Guyana, which is in Africa, who's over the commission. Now, right there, you can tell going, we talk about these conversations we have, it's off kilter to begin with. She didn't even know what a foundational Black American was. She asked a friend of mine, what does that mean?
That was the one that I was arguing with at City Council, who's the mayor's director of immigration and refugee rights. But even right then and there, foundational Black men are neither immigrants or refugees.
Yeah, not at all.
And, so she shouldn't have been the one that's over the commission to begin with. She didn't understand it. Or they don't have, at the end of the day, they don't have the same vested interest. If you pick somebody that came from Chicago Housing Authority or grew up in Chicago, they would push it a little bit differently. But we're talking about this current administration.
Well, I said this also, everybody, then bring Tommy on in a second. I'm just being straight up with y'all. I don't feel we're gonna get reparations. I say that because we've been struggling for a long, long time. If we're gonna secure reparations, I'll just be bold enough to say we're gonna have to take it. I'm serious. People may not want to hear that, but you're going to have to take reparations because $672 million was spent on the migrants here in Chicago. A little bit. I think I'm pretty good on the numbers, I believe. So
just about
one way or the other. But if I'm talking about reparations,
I know there was no $600 million spent on the South and West side.
If you look at the homeless people that was already here before the migrants arrived, and all the poor Black women raising kids by themselves, living in absolute poverty, and not just poor Hispanic people, even poor white people. It's not just African Americans, but poor Americans, and then you prioritize, the migrants. I understand both sides of the coin, but you're not going to get reparations. I say this all the time until it's like really the year 2026 to 2027 civil rights movement. There was a lot of gains during the civil rights era. So I believe this is the last part of the work for us as a people. Securing reparations. Bill Clinton apologized, for slavery. That wasn't enough. But see, there's a $17 trillion price tag on world reparations. But we cannot afford to be caught in that world reparations argument. We got to and the reason I'm talking about Illinois and Chicago is because I believe the numbers would be, definitely the numbers going to be less. But let's say, hypothetically, we put out $20-30 billion. For descendants of slaves in Chicago and Illinois. That's reachable. That's reachable. Because all we got to do then is talk to some billionaires and have them to put up $5 billion to get it started. A lot of these elected officials that are billionaires, they should put into the pot. They should start the pot off with $5 or $10 billion. Let's stop playing with the people, right? I'm talking about Chicago and Illinois. So that's a bigger discussion. People may not want to hear it like that, but it's reachable. Then the state kicks the money in, the city kicks the money in, the county kicks the money in, and I get hyped up. Go ahead.
If you could drop $12 million on a Senate campaign, you could drop $12 million into this bucket.
Put that money in reparations just to kick it off. It's not then. Therefore, it's not going to be what's needed for all the reparations, but you can get it started.
See, but like Brian said too. It's not just about the money. Money, is symbolic, but what you do moving forward matters more. And when you as the fourth Black mayor of Chicago want to mix Southeast Asians with descendants of slavery, we got a problem.
We're gonna talk about that. Okay, then. All right, Brother Tommy, good morning to you. Now I get to all the callers this morning hanging there with me. Go ahead, Tommy.
Tito.
Reparations, Tommy, break it down.
It's nothing to break down.
Okay, what you
got? Skip you. What? It's called skip you. You sitting up saying the same damn thing I've been saying the entire time. I was born in 52. I have lived it all. It's nothing special about me. You know what is special about me? I served this damn country. I saw the depravity. I came back to this country. That's when I got in trouble. That's when I met people like you. You want to know why you ain't governor? Because you make too much damn sense. Anybody who's got any damn sense knows that if you make any type of sense in talking about us, you're not going anywhere.
That's correct.
Not, let me calm down. Wait a minute.
Now you cool, Tommy. You cool.
But you said, no, I'm not cool. Because I have been saying this over and over and over and over again. Now watch this. So if you're going to give reparations, you're going to give it to every last damn one of us, period. Because watch this. If you're not going to give it to every last one of us, period, then what the hell are we talking about?
So when you say every last one of us, Tommy, what do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean,
when you say, because I'm trying to make sure we.
In America, every last black person in America. Otherwise, we're gonna do exactly what we're doing now. Because you know, and I know that if you were born in America, then you know damn good and well you are black, man. You ain't colored. You ain't Negro.
Let
you
me
ain't
allow
African
Brandon.
American.
Not Brandon. We were talking
Goodbye,
about.
man, 'cause y'all talking
Let me allow
nonsense,
Brian.
man.
I meant to say Brian to respond to that. Hold on, Tommy. Don't go nowhere.
Well,
Are you going? Go ahead. Go ahead. He said everybody black should get it. So help me understand that.
I disagree with that because
That's why I
everybody
brought you up.
black did not go through the same harms as everybody. Because so Haiti has a claim for reparations against France. It ain't got nothing to do with us.
Okay.
France enslaved Haiti.
Yeah.
Not America. Not us. We have nothing until everybody got claims around the world.
For sure.
That's fine. But your claim is not with America. Because America's slavery was with foundational black Americans,
Gotcha.
you know, at the end of the day. And I want to add one
well,
thing.
you know, France
while
wanted the sugar cane, you know, all that money.
Right. And it's a lot of, and the history of it is another show. It's a lot of deeper than most people realize how that moves. But I want to keep, you mentioned something I want to touch on. When we talk about, when black folks say we'll never get reparations, I hear that. I get it. But what we talking about is equity. You have a black mayor, 20 black aldermen, you know, J.B. Pritzker and Juliana Stratton needs the black vote to win. So the equity we talk about is in us. It's a political move. It's a conversation we got to have. What are we asking for? Brandon Johnson can wake up today and direct his people over the housing authorities and Department of Housing and the health department and the NBA procurement department to hire black Americans at this rate. Let's figure out how to get this group of people these resources. It's not even out of the realm of their agents. It's what they're supposed to do anyway.
Right. And then
they just don't do it.
Gotcha. And I always say this quickly. The views on this show are not the views of WVON. And then but I just want to say that. And then also I want to say this too. Brandon, I've invited him to come on the show. So it's not like we haven't invited him to come on the show. I don't think he'll come on my show personally, but the thing is, I have sent out the invitation.
Tell them we're talking about black immigrants.
Well, yeah, they might come then.
If I can get one more couple quick, I think it's important to frame this convo.
Yeah.
We have in the reparations in this conversation, there are zero black elected official engaging in a conversation.
Yeah.
Zero. So think of this: you got two commissions going. You don't have any true engagement from any black elected official. Right. And that's a problem. Juliana Stratton, by default, is the only one that's on record saying she fully supports the Reparation Commission at the state. And
I know Juliana person. I believe
we're going to hold her accountable to that statement, though. Right. Because but nobody else. So you got to think that's where the power and the problems come in. We don't even have anyone engaging in the conversation. And then you actively have people suppressing transparency on other reparation commissions. So it's we control the black elected officials in theory, right?
Yes.
We vote for them. They're supposed to be beholden to us, not to anybody else.
All right, let me get another quick. You want to say something, brother?
No,
you good? Let's get Andre on. Yep. Andre, good morning to you.
Hey, what's happening to you, Tio?
I'm doing good.
Hey, let me say this real quick, man. I love and respect you, Tio, man. But every time you or any other talk show host have a conversation, Tommy seems to come and destroy the conversation. I would never want to hang out with him because you can't hold a conversation with him.
Tommy, now hear me clearly, brother Andre. My show is what you call universal. Tommy's cool with me. He may think he's not cool with me, but everybody has a point of view, bro. Yeah. Like you have a point of view. We may not agree with you all the time, and I don't want you to agree with me all the time. So Tommy's welcome to call anytime, you know, unless he goes way to the left. Then I'm gonna send him over there with Donald Trump. But go ahead, Andre.
Well, you haven't noticed that you lost some listeners due to Tommy. You know.
I don't know about that. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Let me go and make my point about reparations because it seems like to me people would use a reparations talk about reparations because they think it make good conversation. Well, let me give you some facts about it. Many well-known economists have said that reparations would be an economic boom to the United States.
For sure.
I totally agree with that because the more money you have, the more you spend.
Yes.
Second of all, to cut through the chase, we need to get a place like Operation Push or some other civic organization. Let everybody get hooked up with Ancestry.com and get your DNA and turn it into that one place.
Yep.
Once it's determined that you ADOS people, then get the lawyers to go and sue the government on behalf of those people that are ADOS.
I like that, Andre.
Not all of this foolishness. And I'm going to tell you why that's a good way to do it, because a lot of your modern day white people think it's a redistribution of wealth. They think you taking money from them
and giving it to somebody when they say they had nothing to do with slavery. Technically, they had nothing to do with slavery, but their ancestors did. So to cut through the chase again, we don't have to go and sue on behalf of all black people. Just everybody get their DNA and turn it in. And once it's determined you Adolf, then get them lawyers and push or whatever civil organization to go to court and sue on behalf of those group of people, whether it's 10 million or whatever, sue on behalf of those people. Don't be going for everybody, because unlike the caller said, like Tommy, everybody don't deserve it if you black. I totally disagree with what Tommy has said. So, I mean, let's be real about this here. It's not just conversation. We got to deal with some facts. And I just gave you all of the facts, and you can check them for yourself.
I appreciate you, brother. Right on, Andre. Good call this morning. So I definitely agree. That's why I did my DNA. I made sure I wanted to see what's going on. So what's your response on that, Alderman Lopez?
Look, if you could get certified to be a minority business, then you should be able to be certified as a descendant of slaves.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about both reparations from the federal government as well as equity at the local and state level. That should be your ticket to access right then and there moving forward. And I think what he said is 100% accurate. And if government had a will to do it, we could make that happen tomorrow.
If there's a will, there's a way.
So I want to add to what he's 100% right. So I actually presented to a reparation commission yesterday at the state level. The genealogy DNA scenario that he's talking about, there've already been a partnership with Family Search to create our own heritage and our own freedman lineage.
Okay.
Right. So to his point, that's the first stage. And tracing people back to 1900 with technology and data is not rocket science anymore.
Well, let me hit you.
So that's going to happen.
Well, let me hit you with a heavyweight question.
Sure.
Here. You got some foundational black people that don't even support reparations.
Absolutely.
What do you say to those people?
I mean, everybody ain't going. We just lead them where they at, because what we supposed to do? How long are we going to continue to beg to drag everybody forward? Unfortunately, we got elected officials, we have community people, we have pastors, we have institutions like the Urban League, the NAACPs. And I know this is not BON, this is Brian Mullen's conversation. But they're not supporting it. So as a group, how long are we going to continue to let them not? They stand up and fight for immigrants and equity for immigrants. That's the same people, but you don't see these same people fighting for Black Americans.
So let me ask Alderman this. What do you say to some of the people on a universal level that say, well, African-American people just want a handout? What's your response to that?
Well, it's not a handout.
Exactly.
This is reparations are a repayment. How many generational Americans had no negative experience from slavery?
Exactly.
This is about dealing with the institutional generational trauma of 500 years of slavery before, during, and after our country's founding.
Okay.
So that's what we need to address.
Yes.
And for all those who say we don't need it, every community has folks that always work against how everyone else got here, or everyone else's trauma.
I've talked to people.
Even in the Latino community, you got people who say we don't need any more immigrants. Like, where do you think you came from? But we have to move beyond those discussions and look at the global impact of what has happened. Because if you ever want to get past this, we have to address it.
All right, cool.
And I want to say, that's why Alderman Lopez, I think we jail. I'll say it. Hispanics are in the same bucket. You have historical Hispanics, Americans that have been in Chicago and been in America at the same time. And we all just watched the last 3, 4, 5 years, other people that look like them coming on top of them also. So it's not even a separate conversation on Black Americans.
Well, I have to challenge you on that.
It's just the time that we're doing.
No, I'm African American, Sure. I'm going to challenge you in a positive way.
Yeah.
When you say that Latinos, Hispanics are in the same bucket, you need to really break that down. What do you mean?
Well, no. I think what Brian is saying, not in terms of slavery and reparations,
exactly.
but in terms of having other people now jump in front of you while you've been trying to make progress on your own issues.
Okay.
For example, in the Latino community, you've got long-term undocumented who've been here waiting for some sort of resolution. And then you had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris let in 15 million people and put them in front of them. No different than you having discussions about reparations. And then all of a sudden now you're going to put Southeast Asian and African migrants ahead of foundational Black Americans.
I got it.
That mindset that we need to keep looking for the next best thing while ignoring the problems that we've created or have been.
But you know what, Alderman, all due
that's
respect to the process. So it takes people power. The only way, once again, we're going to secure reparations is going to take people power. You need millions of people to hit, not mess nothing up. Hear me clearly. Intellectual, progressive type of people that are standing up for this here genuine cause of reparations to come together in the multitudes. Then you get reparations.
Well, as Brian said, we have an election coming up. When JB's out in the community, every foundational Black American voter should say, "What are we doing about reparations? What are we doing about reparations?
And that's our goal, and that's what we're trying to. So just so you know, the state is moving towards the outreach, the door-to-door conversations about this is going to be happening in the next few months.
We've been talking about it a long time. Let me get this call on. Okay, good conversation. All right, David. Good morning to you. David, hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're on the air, David. You're on the air.
Oh, okay. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. Okay, how you doing?
Oh, I'm good. First of all, man, we got to establish the title. Is it Native Black American or Foundation? Black American.
Brian got the title for you, David. Foundation. Go ahead, David. And then I let Brian respond. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, David.
Because who's gonna respond? Me or Brian?
Brian, you. I said David.
Oh, okay. See, we keep going back and forth. African American, Foundation American, Native Black American. But recently, the titles of the culture of every American has been wiped from the birth certificates in 2016. So that's going how everybody's not going to be able to go get a DNA test and all that in the future because the children that's coming up now today in the Chicago public schools, they can hardly even read and write.
Yep. Okay.
And those the ones that need it most of all.
Yes.
Because this is why a lot of crime is happening here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. Because you have a lot of ignorant, uneducated youth that's going around trying to live and survive and sustain and get income.
Yep. All right, David. Thank you for your call.
Oh, I'm not finished, Steve.
We got to keep it going. Got quite a few more people got to get in. But go ahead, David. Go ahead. You got a couple more, about another minute. David? Oh, okay. All right. Let me get Lewis in here. We'll get to it. Lewis, good morning to you, Lewis.
Good morning, Tio.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a Foundation Black. Okay. Now, this is what happened. There were two groups of Black people that came here. You can go to the 1790 census. It was a census taken in 1790. There were four classifications. Whites, there were free whites, there were free non-whites or coloreds, and those coloreds were the Africans, the Haitians, the Jamaicans, and freed Negroes that were freed at that time. And then you had the mulattoes, the mixed ones.
Okay.
And then you had the slave. Okay. In 1851, on the census, it was changed from mulatto and slave to the word Negro. And from 1851 all the way up to 1960, the word Negro certified, it was on your birth certificate. It was placed on their birth certificate because it's on my birth certificate because I was born in 57. And my father, he was born in 35. And the word Negro is on there.
Okay.
Those are the slaves. Okay. Now, the coloreds, they were the free non-whites. And that's where they came from. And the 1870, look at the Naturalization Act of 1870, and only two groups of people were citizens.
All right.
Whites and Negroes, and then it said the ones that were excluded were non-whites and Asians, and so that's where those two differences came from with colored and Negro. The Negro was the slave, and the colored was the free Black person who was here, because they had free Black people who were here, and you had emancipated. They call them emancipated
let's
Negroes.
do this, Lewis. Let me allow Brian and the alderman to respond to what you're talking about. Go ahead, Brother Brian.
So yeah, I agree with Lewis. It's 100% true what he's saying. But that's a whole nother layer to this conversation that we have a hard time today talking about foundational Black America. That's just a word. There's no legal standing in that word, right?
You know why he say that? Because they ashamed of the word Negro. And what happened was Barack Obama, he erased the word Negro off all federal laws that you would need.
So Lewis, let me ask you this question.
Get your reparations to prove who you is.
Now let me put this out there, Lewis, and for Brian and Autumn. Hold on, Lewis, because I got other callers coming in. Just hold on for a minute. Is the word Negro, is it worth us losing that word? Because you know what comes along with it. I'm not saying one way or the other. Like the thing is that I remember when I was growing up, I saw saying I'm a real N word, right? So we had to get past that. So is the word Negro a legitimate word for Black people, Brian?
Yeah, it was.
What does Negro?
Negro? He's right. Negro is a specific group of Black people.
Okay.
All came through chattel slavery in the southern states.
Negro.
That's the Negro.
Okay.
Because that's how the U.S. Census defined it. But he touched on something I want to talk about. It's important. But it's a bigger conversation for another show.
All right.
We now know, and I do DNA and genealogy. All right. So I built genealogy systems. It's kind of like this lineage system and stuff. So we studied it. We now know, we were all told that everybody came from Africa. We now know for a fact that all what he mentioned by documents and data shows us everybody that is Black today did not come from chattel slavery through Africa. There were Black-skinned people on U.S. soil all along being reclassified. So the Negro is another reclassification. The Negro, the African-American, is a continued reclassification of the same
So
groups
what you're
of people.
telling me is that there were African people in America,
dark-skinned people,
while the slaves were the African people that were enslaved were coming over here.
Tio, and that's a whole other show we should have. No, watch this, because every single story from every explorer from the East Coast and South Carolina, guess what they talk about? They come in and they say it's really a mind thing that they did to us. They talk about the copper color people. Well, guess what, Tio? Most of the people listening to you right now are copper colored.
Gotcha.
We just don't believe. We just in our brains never said, hey, we're part of the same group of people because they reclassified us. But you could tell there were dark-skinned people in the nation, in the East Coast, the Larape Indians, the Powhatan Indians. They were dark-skinned people.
Understood.
We just today don't believe we have any ties to those people, but we do. So to his point, there were free Blacks in America prior to the slave trade, and that's why you can separate them. But let me say this, but the U.S. government funneled everybody into this word Negro and freedmen where we at today.
Free Black people.
Absolutely.
I remember the movie Django with Jamie Foxx.
Absolutely.
When the free brothers. So that's a whole other story there. Now let me say this before I get to all of it, then I'll take some more calls. Now you had some brothers and some sisters back during that era that were no nonsense. All the Black men did not subject themselves to them conditions, and they were not. They rose up. They raised up and dealt with that. So the reality is that it's important to tell those stories as well, because you got to understand the atrocities that were committed. For example, this is one major atrocity. When kids were born, they would take the kids away from their mother, and that mother has to worry about them kids. Let's say she lives to be 80. Imagine the anguish she has to deal with for 80 years, not knowing where her kids are, right? That's hurtful, painful beyond any person's meaning ever. So the reality of it, we got a lot of work to do, and that's the reason why reparations is due to us. And like I say, not just financially, but there's a need to repair the harm, the psychological harm. Because, being a parent in today's world, imagine not being able to know where your kids is at. Imagine that. What you got to say there, Brother Autumn?
No, you're right. And that's why these names do matter. And when you keep reclassifying, changing, and moving the goalpost, that's why this conversation is going nowhere. Because if you don't want to use the term Negro because you're afraid of its connotation of how it's being misused today, a whole generation of people have distanced themselves from their history.
Of being Negro.
Rightly or wrongly, that's history. That's who you are. And now it makes it even more difficult to have a conversation about whether or not someone is owed reparations, because now I don't consider myself part of that group.
Yeah,
you have people who willingly say I'm not part of that group.
For sure.
So now you can't move forward, and you're basically saying the history that was of my people for the past 200 years no longer applies to me.
And I got to chime in on that because it's one of my passionate points. when we watch the current conversation in government and leadership, we watch the institutions, we watch media, movie stars. They get on TV with their Caribbean colors. I fight every Juneteenth because elected officials and government fly red, yellow, and green flags, which are Caribbean flags. It had nothing to do with us, and African flags, and that's disrespectful. So to Alvin's point, our children they don't want to be associated with slavery and Southern cooking and the culture that all of us grew up with. I'm 56 years old. So we grew up with a Black culture that is now, the African Fest in Chicago started on 47th Street, right? And it was founded by foundational Black Americans celebrating the heritage of Africa. Right now, it's Africans running it, selling us cheap goods, and it's a different scenario. So I mean, we keep getting the Essence Fest. The Essence Fest come from Essence Magazine, and now the Caribbeans took over, the Africans took over and ruined the Essence Fest. So I'm saying these are our institutions. Look, we created jazz and blues and hip hop, and we had. Look at this.
That's right.
It's another story because this history is something we need to talk about. We had HBCUs in 1831. Now use your brain and say, how is it that we told this story of we were all oppressed and all this enslavement, but we already had full-blown universities 30 years before that? The story is a little bit off.
Well, let me take a quick call here, okay? We good. We're doing good. Brother Chris.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Hardiman and your guest.
Morning.
Yes.
As you see, when there's a will, there's a way, and we can't let the lack of perfect not get something done. As you can see, the president administration sent $40 billion to Argentina. So if there's a will, there's a way. You saw when the Asian people were being attacked during COVID, they passed legislation. They passed history legislation.
Without a doubt.
So it has to be a multifaceted repair, tax-based, land, education, and we got to look at some of the language where the what do you call it? The Japanese people got it.
The internment,
our Indian sisters, brothers' language, the Jewish language. So if there's a will, there's a way, and it has to be a multifaceted repair. And the U.S. government was directly involved. And also we got to account for the people who died in transport and eaten by sharks, thrown overboard. So if there's a will, there's a way, multifaceted repair, and it's long overdue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me ask you this question then. Let's put it out there. I already know the answer to a degree. Where did the word Negro originate from?
I mean, it's coming out of, Negro's been around for a long time. In the way
was it around in Africa before slavery? That's the question, bro.
Was it around? Right. I'm going to say no, but I'm not sure.
Well, I teach a class on the history of Africa before the colonizers, right? Yeah. And when you study Africa, you will see that a lot of the history has been pretty much it disappeared. Yeah. Like in Ghana, they say the people in Ghana just disappeared in the forest, the entire history. Right. The only country that has a strong, well, a lot of countries have history, don't get me wrong, but if you study African people, a lot of times they put it where African people were like in the wilderness, they were savages and all, but the savages came over there to extract the African people and bring them over here. But the thing is, Ethiopia has been around for ages. I'm going out back to 500 AD or whatever the case may be. But the reality, we'll just keep taking calls when we got so much time here. Let's see, let's get Mama D on the line, okay? The one and only Mama D, good morning to you.
Good morning, y'all guys rising. Hi, Lopez, one of my favorite people. If you were running for mayor, I would vote for you. Anyway, thank you, Louis. There is no country called Foundation, and Moors were not slaves. This ball of confusion, that's what the world is today. I am a heart and mind damaged survivor, age 75 to 84 years old. Descendants of 246 years of crimes against humanity. If you were in the country before it became a country, you are indigenous. I am an indigenous Negro American African. Claim the country that crimes against our ancestors, humanity created, but don't forget the continent before enslavement. So, NAA, Indigenous Negro American African.
Right.
Refugees and immigrants have privileges. If they are here illegally, they don't have rights. And what happens is mixing us up with black and brown and people of color is ball of confusion. In conclusion, I need exempt status, cultural rights, sovereignty, land, and money in order to be whole. And that is what reparations is supposed to be about. And if you can pass the Reparations Dream Act for children of those who have broken into the country and give them a governmental leg up of D, development, R, relief, E, education, free to graduate school for aliens, non-citizen minors under the age of 31, amnesty from any crime that's not federal, and exemption from student loans and student debt as a down payment on reparations. You can do that for American African minors.
Thank you, Mama D. So let me ask this question before we take a couple more calls so we can get them in, right? So Alderman, where do we go from here? There's a lot of talk going on, good conversation. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the question really is about, are we committed to actually doing something, or is this all just talk and bluster just to get politicians through the next election?
Yes, indeed.
Because if this is about doing something, right now there are 3 ordinances that address equity for foundational Black Americans that City Council can take up this month, pass in April, and the mayor can put his signature on and announce his reelection from there. They deal with hiring, they deal with contracting, and they deal with representation in everything that we do as part of our $16.6 billion budget. They've been sitting on the books since the day he walked in the office. He has not moved on them, because I don't think he or his team understand what we're talking about here today, but your listeners know. So as your listeners are hearing this and demanding action, tell everyone who comes knocking on their doors or is in office now that if you want my vote, start moving on those 3 pieces of legislation that Alderman Lopez introduced that deal with equity for foundational Black Americans.
Well, that answers a question from somebody on the WVON Facebook page. They said, does Alderman Lopez support reparations? I didn't really respond because I know you do. You know what I mean? You passed, you the one who pushed the ordinance, So that's very important. So, Brian, why haven't we made progress thus far?
I think in the way that we normally move legislation, we have not developed a unified effort by Black Americans, by us. By our groups. We can't get ourselves, grassroots groups or institutions or elected officials, to come together around this one issue. They're everywhere but on this issue. We watch, and we watch from the push scenario. We watch everybody on television talking about other people, but not ourselves. So the answer is, if we get it, there are no magical white people in the way. It's us. If we come together and demand from elected officials to do this today, they will do it today. That's the missing part, that we keep bumping heads with each other to come together to get it done. But the state of Illinois, in my opinion, they are in the right pathway, the framework. They're now, if you go to their website, they're starting to solicit recommendations from people. So this is the time for us to come together. But our people, right? We're going to be all over the place and fighting. So you just got to, that's the challenge.
Okay.
How do we get us all together to fight for one simple issue?
Well, let me get Darva on the line real quick, and then we'll just have to get some closing comments. Yeah, Darva, good morning.
Good morning. God bless you. Yahweh is the right way. I want to say this. Most of our elected officials and voters are not politically, governmental, or legally astute. They're just getting paid. Number 2, everything that we're talking about is biblical. It's spiritual. It's biblical and spiritual. There's scriptures that talk about this. The scriptures.
Hey, Darva, I love God, but I have to be straight up with you. We talking about 400 years of slavery, right? And Jim Crow laws. I love God. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying, a lot of my people will say, well, where was God when my people was suffering like that?
Okay,
where was God at when it was jumping over the boats over there in the Atlantic Ocean? Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. I love God. Don't get me wrong. But what's happening? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've read it since 5:45. I've been on this line, and I didn't interrupt anyone. Let me just close out by saying this. The reparations was COVID-19. Listen to what I'm saying. This is spiritual. It's real. You might, because God showed me reparations.
Come on, Darva. Come on.
Okay. Now, listen to me. If you give, that's called the wealth transfer. Don't you know the wealth transfers belong to us? But if we get the web transfer, all the millionaires and billionaires will go broke. The banks will go broke. So what they did, they created COVID-19, and they had a meeting that y'all don't know nothing about with the United Nations. I was working for the United States. Let me finish.
No.
I was working for the United States Census Bureau.
I'm gonna catch up with you on the next show, okay? Before we get out of here, we still got about 3 minutes. I just want to say this. I want to put this vision out there. See, when people were dealing with working on them plantations, picking cotton, you might find yourself in the field for over 18 hours, man. You might have to go to bed. Let's say you can go to bed at 10 p.m. and you got to get up at 4 when the sun rises. And you lay down when the sun goes down and you eating scraps from the pit. That's how they come up with chitlins, hog maw, pig feet, pig ears, and all that kind of BS, right? And I have to talk, Professor, I'm on the radio. But the point I'm making, imagine being bent over in the hot sun for 18 hours on your back bent over, man. Imagine that. And you tell me you can't give us reparations because, and think about all the spiritual damage, the cultural damage, the physical damage, women being raped, men being raped, hanging people, man, sicking dogs on people. You know, it goes further than that. That's why it's a serious conversation. I don't want nobody to minimize it because some people minimize. Then we helped build the country. We fought in every war the country had, and we were loyal to the country, loyal than most people. You understand? So with that being said, I get on my soapbox. So I'm gonna give you a closing. I'm gonna give you a closing thought, Brother Alderman, because you came on, had time to come on out, and with you, and I go to you right after the Alderman. Go ahead, Brother Alderman.
Look, there are things that we could do right now that doesn't minimize. There's actions in government we could take to bring some justice to the situation that's long been ignored, long been minimalized, and is quite literally being forgotten by a whole generation.
Okay.
But we have to act, we have to mobilize, and we have to demand. Black folks have been there for every other group.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's time for us to be there for them.
My man, that's what you're doing.
That's what we're doing.
Appreciate you. Go ahead, Brian.
And I say what he said is 100% correct. I will say that get engaged with the state commission. Go to the state's website, see what they're doing. There's surveys and things coming out. It's on us to do it. I want to say the last thing about us being foundational. A couple of people touched on it. We are the only group, there's very few people that's left over. Don't forget, Polish, Italian, everybody came in as immigrants also. We have 10 generations on U.S. soil, like Mama D said. So we are a little bit different.
All right, cool. So I have to wrap up now. It's been a good show. The hour of power. That's what I called it this morning. Yeah. So reparations, all power to the people. In memory of Jesse Jackson Sr., as always. I said I'd mention his name for the rest of the year because he was all right with me, you know. He was all right with me. So we out of here now. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments on the WVON Facebook page, my Facebook page. And just share this video. Share the video with all your friends. Peace and blessings. I'm out of here. All right.
They call him Mr. Ceasefire.